Let me call to order the June 8th, 2022 meeting, Committee of the Whole for Pottstown City Council. I will ask that you remain seated at this time. Normally, I would be asking for a moment of silence, but in light of the events that took place here in Pottstown, I've asked Dr. Vernon Ross to give us our invocation. Sir.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And before I give the invocation, I want to publicly apologize to Councilman Michael Paulus, who attended our 7th year anniversary recently on behalf of the council and administration, and I omitted to acknowledge him during the celebration, so please forgive me. Let us pray. O God of compassion, hear our prayer tonight. O God of comfort, have mercy on those killed and injured in the home explosion. Have mercy on the families and their homes impacted by the explosion. God, protect all people in Pottstown and throughout the world from evil, gun violence, and those who seek to harm and hurt others. Draw near to us in this time of great sorrow and comfort those who mourn. Strengthen those who are weary, troubled, afraid, and in despair, and lead this community of diverse people to seek your way, the way of peace and true community. O God, protect us by your light and compel all people to act in times of injustice as you taught. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with you, our God. God, we are your children, and we are your inheritance of this earth. Give us the courage and power to work in peace in every place and in every part of this life. God, fill us with the knowledge of your love and kindle that love in our hearts so that we may engage one another as those who are made in your image. Let us be family from today until the end of all life. Now bless this meeting that it will be fruitful. This is our humble prayer, eternal God of eternal life. Amen.
Amen.
Dan, can I say something quick? Okay, I know I haven't been here for a while, but I privately said this today in a meeting. I'd like to say it publicly. Justin, Chief Mick, Chief Hand, locally, you did a wonderful job handling the situation and keeping us informed and keeping people safe. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
If you'd rise for a pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to make one announcement before I start. I have been in communications with our state senators and state representatives and also our federal representatives. Most recently, I guess it was yesterday, State Representative Joe Cerisi made contact with PICO and was not satisfied with the meeting, is now calling for a meeting between their CEO and us. And we will not rest until this is handled properly. Okay, under subcommittee reports, infrastructure. Councilor Lebedinsky.
The packet's in your.
Okay. Anyone from transportation? None.
No meeting.
Efficient methods.
We'll be meeting Monday.
Yes. Okay, ordinance review, Councilor Proskal, are you on?
We will be meeting in July.
Yes. Okay. Economic development, Ms. Lee Clark.
Good evening, councilors, Madam Mayor. I wanted to talk recently about some things that you may have seen in the news. One is Averiti, which is a company that has selected Pottstown along with Norristown. They are particularly interested in developing in qualified opportunity zones. They have already settled on 10 South Winter Street, and they are moving on to something on Keystone Boulevard as well. They are a fermentation process that is part of the manufacturing process for the pharmaceutical industry. So they are not in the R&D part of things, they are in the actual manufacturing of pharmaceuticals. So their headquarters will be in Norristown, where the Times Herald building once stood, that it has now been leveled, and they'll be going through land development, but they plan to bring their manufacturing operations here to Pottstown. So more on that, hopefully in the coming months. A lot of times I get asked by the community and people, what does PAID do? PAID is a 501c3, as you all know. We are not the borough. We work hand in glove with the borough to make sure that we are supporting commercial development and business within the borough to increase the tax base. That's what our purpose is. But we do it through relationships. And one of the stories or examples, local examples that I can talk about is having the U.S. Commerce Secretary here. If it were not for PAID's outreach, when we got the notification that American Keg could not get stainless steel, and then us educating the staff and Congresswoman Dean about the plight, because it was September, and if they could not buy stainless steel, they would have been out of business by December 31st. So those are the types of things that PAID does on a regular basis that nobody sees, but are imperative to the survival of economic development in this borough. The other thing that we have that is relationship-driven is you may have been reading about the EPA dollars that have been recently granted to the Redevelopment Authority of Montgomery County, and they are specifically earmarked, most of those dollars, the majority of those dollars, for environmental remediation programs within the borough of Pottstown. So that's a really beneficial thing to us. I often say when PAID was reorganized in 2010, that it was either a brilliant move that the commissioners suggested that the Redevelopment Authority of Montgomery County hold a leadership position in PAID, or dumb luck. I'm not sure which, but it has worked out very beneficially for all in this borough. The last thing that I would like to talk about is the letter that you should all have received from PAID and our support of 215 South Washington. It is certainly a very important project for the borough and a very important project that we have all been working very hard on for a long time. It's a visible project and one that I hope we can move forward on as soon as possible. That is my report.
Very good. And while you were there,
Land bank.
the land bank.
So later this evening, you will be hearing about 1000 Cherry Street and a proposal which was brought to Land Bank, and also the agreement between Genesis and the borough and the Land Bank for 707 Hamilton to be developed and then be an owner-occupied property. That is where we are with Land Bank.
Very good.
Also, I just had Councilor Vanny, she is the representative that sits on the Land Bank, sign off on a letter this evening asking that will be sent to certain properties of people who are on the blighted list that could possibly donate to the Land Bank. It would be beneficial for that to happen. The Land Bank does not have any money to acquire property necessarily, but for those that are just spending money rather than recouping, sometimes it would just be best for them to donate land. So we will be looking for those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chief Hand, you here?
Good evening, everyone. Real quick, this isn't my month that I would have a monthly report for the fire department. We do that quarterly. But I wanted to be here to let everyone know that the investigation is going on. It's going to be a long, tedious process. There's a lot of agencies involved, and there's not a whole lot we can do. The positive is the borough's really been up there helping residents get cleaned up a little bit. We have dumpsters, fences, and things like that. So unfortunately, we can't really talk about anything else with this. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Human Relations, Ms. Levingood?
Good evening, councilors, council president, Madam Mayor. June is Pride Month. It's a month-long observance in celebration of LGBTQ people and the history, culture, and contributions of these people in their communities. Father's Day, Day to Recognize Fathers, Fatherhood, and Paternal Bonds is Sunday, June 19th, 2022. And Juneteenth. That's the official name of the federal holiday. Juneteenth is the National Independence Day. It's also called Emancipation Day, Freedom Day. You might hear it referred to as Jubilee Day or Black Independence Day. This day, June the 19th, commemorates the end of slavery in Texas, which was the last state of the Confederacy with slavery. Just a reminder, the federal holiday will be observed on Monday, June the 20th this year. And then the commission's next June meeting will be held on Tuesday, June the 14th at 6 o'clock in council chambers, and everyone's invited to attend.
Very good. Thank you. Report on the library, Ms. Lipsky? She up there?
I do not see
I
her.
don't see her. Okay. Next would be the Ricketts Center. Counselor Kirkland.
Nothing new to report. Summer programs ongoing, as reported before.
Okay. Pottstown School District, Counselor Lindsay.
Okay, so this week, I, on Facebook, the Policy and Personnel Curriculum Committee met, and the videos for that and the school board is always available on Facebook. So today I had some time, believe it or not, I had time. So I did listen to the Policy and Procedures meeting on Facebook, and I just wanted to hit some things that they are working on. And Dr. LaTanya White Springfield, she's Director of Student Services, and she had a presentation, and she covered a lot of stuff, but I'm just going to try to just hit some points. One of them is that they hired counselors for Lincoln and the mental health counselors. And they also did, and they also hired 2 counselors for the middle school as well. They she also said something about residency, and they are looking into residency of the children because we pay for these kids to go, taxpayers, people in the Pottstown area pay for kids to go to Pottstown School District, and a lot of times they don't have Pottstown addresses. So they may, for example, they may live with an auntie and they live in Spring City. Okay, they live in Spring City with their parents, but they come to Pottstown and go to Pottstown School District. So they're working on trying to identify that. So they have 39 affiliates, 89 McKinley Vito, and 13 foster children. So it could be just paperwork, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate that and make sure that there are residents, that the children are residents. And there's paperwork too. So, for example, foster children, they have to have paperwork in order to say that that the foster parent lives here and that they are the foster parent, or it could be a grandparent or aunt, that we just have that paperwork. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention, that it's an issue and that the school district is working on. So that's it for my report.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's report, Mayor Hendrick.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I typically take this time to update you on what I've done in the past month and promote upcoming events. I am going to reserve that for my social media pages and Monday's meeting. I think it's really important to recount the last few weeks and recognize the bravery, leadership, and compassion that our village and surrounding neighbors have shown us. On May 26th, as most of you know, we were rocked by an unexplainable, horrific tragedy and lost 5 members of our Pottstown family, namely Francine White, 67, Alana Wood, 13, Jeremiah White was 12, Nehemiah White, who was 10, and Tristan White, who was 8. And their parents have been critically injured. Seconds after the blast, while first responders were on their way, neighbors put their own safety aside and ran into the wreckage to save whoever they could. I don't have all of your names. I'm sure I'm going to get them soon because I would really like to formally recognize you at a later date. I know a gentleman took his shirt off to tend to victims' injuries. Others attempted to recover and revive anyone they could. To all of you, thank you. To all the first responders, especially Chief Hand, Chief Markovich, Goodwill Ambulance, Pottstown Fire Department, Pottstown Police Department, Pennsylvania State Police, the ATF. I mean, the response was not just local. The entire county, surrounding counties, and state came out. So I want to thank you all for your immediate and continued dedication to support us and keep us safe. A special thanks to firefighter Dave Saylor for quote-unquote ignoring maybe some safety measures and attempting to rescue one of the displaced family's 10 cats that were still in the house. To Sean Morris and the Red Cross, who called me minutes after the blast to organize and provide shelter, meals, and counseling services to those affected from Thursday night all the way through Saturday, and who continue to follow and support the multiple displaced families. I want to thank you as well. To Reverend Nicole Jackson, who walked door to door with me and held my hand as we consoled the grieving, and the large faith-based leaders of our community who have been here for all of us and who have assisted and arranged and organized vigils and counseling services, and who continue to be an available resource for the members of our community. Over the past 2 weeks, we've been visited or communicated with elected officials of all branches of our government, but I wanted to give a special thank you to Joe Cerisi. Joe was not only there with me on Thursday night, but stayed with me into the wee hours of the morning, went back home, got some sleep, maybe an hour, picked me up the following morning at 6 a.m. so we could bring breakfast to the first responders at the site. A special thank you to Barrister's Bagels, Susie Joe Donuts in Royersford, Brookside Family Restaurant, and Rocky at Little Italy for all of your generous donations and helping to feed our first responders. I also want to thank Representative Tim Hennessy, Congresswoman Madeline Dean, who called me that night while she was overseas in Vienna at a conference regarding Ukraine. Commissioner Valor Kush called me to ensure that the county resources were available, and she's working with us to fill in the gaps where they're not. And Councilwoman Lindsay, who rushed from work right away to help in any way she could and helped me console many of the residents who had seen a tragedy that will be difficult to forget. I'm sure I'm going to leave people out, and for that I apologize, but I am grateful beyond words for the further support from John Armato, who stayed until he could ensure that the high school was open and available and accessible to the Red Cross and the displaced families, Johnny Corson and Emmanuel Wilkerson, and the NAACP, who were out there, hands on the feet on the ground and helping neighbors, checking in on families, raising funds, And of course, Stephen Rodriguez and the teachers and school staff and the counselors for being there for our youth and for their continued support throughout this time. Many of you have met with the students who are and will be forever impacted by this tragedy of losing friends and classmates. And we are here to provide any emotional support in any way that we can. We're currently working with Tri-County Network to raise funds for the families impacted by this tragedy, not just the White family, but also for the displaced families around the site. I want to say thank you to Holly Parker with TCN, Health and Wellness Foundation, Scott Bentley, and Health Spark Foundation for their continued fundraising efforts and donations. And Josh Park at Branch for Life, who has been organizing this. I think he's been out since Thursday night as well. We're currently approaching about $50,000 to raise funds for the community. And the information is on my Facebook page and TCN's website for information on how to donate. I've always known how special this community is, but having experienced this grief with the residents over the past 2 weeks has left both a hole in my heart, but inspires me through our shared appreciation and love for one another. I hope we can use this time to grieve and continue to support one another and continue to show the strength of our community. This moment and these moments continue and have greatly impacted me. And I am honored to be your mayor, and I am here for you in any way that I can be. So thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Manager's report. Mr. Keller?
Yes, thank you, and good evening, everyone. So just to reiterate, the mayor covered a lot of things that I was going to cover with TCN and the support that they're providing, not just for the families in the area that need housing, food, clothing, but also for mental health as well. And I just want to encourage anyone that wants to donate, please donate it through that fund, because that way you can make sure that it's the funds are going to be held appropriately and managed appropriately. And there won't be any, issue with fraud. A lot of times when these things happen, you got to be very careful because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to use this for their own benefit instead of for the benefit of the people that need it. So I just put that out there. So a couple positive things. We have Panera Bread coming into town. They did submit land development plans for a new pad site at Robinson Street and Shoemaker. So that's in the works, so we should be seeing that application in the next few months. Amtrak bus service, express service between Reading and Philadelphia, kicked off on June 6th and paid, as Peggy mentioned, they're currently working on having a kickoff celebration in a few weeks to celebrate that. So we'd encourage people to use that for, a fun weekend in Philly or for work or for school. It's a great asset that we have here for the community. Update on street paving. We did have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. It's looking like tentatively that will start in August, but we'll have better clarity on the timing as we get closer to that point. Also, just a reminder, we do have hydrant flushing ongoing throughout the borough. This will continue through the end of May. So if you experience brown water, run the cold water for a few minutes until clear. Just again to follow up on the tragedy that happened on May 26th. So we have completed our inspection of the properties for structural damage. The engineer that we brought on site, he will be finalizing their report in a couple of weeks. But just as a reminder to everyone and to the homeowners that they still have to go through their homeowner's insurance to have them come in and have their adjuster do a full evaluation of the extent of damage. Because again, our inspectors are just looking for structural issues that may be visibly present at the property. I do want to thank our first responders, borough staff, Montgomery County Emergency Management. They were a huge help that night in supporting those efforts. Now, I did get an update from PICO today. They will be resurveying their infrastructure in this area within a half-mile radius of the blast site for the next 4 weeks as a precaution, just to make sure that there aren't any other gas leaks in the area. So if you see the white van driving around up there, it has some scientific equipment on it that sniffs the smell of gas and can identify if there's anything that should be addressed. So again, as Chief Hand had said, this is an ongoing investigation into the cause, and it's being conducted by multiple federal, state, county, and local officials, and it will take some time to complete. Just as a point of reference, the investigation of a deadly home explosion in Allentown that occurred in 2011 took about 16 months to complete. I'm not saying that's how long this one will take, but it's just a point of reference to help guide everyone. All right, and lastly, we have a request from John Bessler. He contacted the Parks and Recreation Department to inquire about dedicating a baseball field in Memorial Park in the memory of Ronald V. Rhodes, or Rocket Rhodes, if some may remember him, who deceased in 2021. He's a former Pottstown resident, and he had a local, regional, and professional softball career. And he has also played, I guess, with the minor or a professional softball league in the past. We did send council a packet of information on this gentleman and his accomplishments. So some of the things that is requested as a part of this, he's asking council to consider dedication of field number 3 in Pottstown Memorial Park in the memory of Ron Rocket Rhodes, in light of the Pottstown heritage and his inclusion in the Pennsylvania Softball Hall of Fame. Mr. Belser is willing to donate $1,000 to help effectuate this memorial. And the memo is in your packet. So if anyone has any thoughts or concerns or any questions right now, please let me know. If not, we can have this listed in a future council agenda for potential approval. Any questions?
Read the pack early.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Very good. Okay, we are to see a presentation, the David Yeck Foundation. Oh,
Hi,
In a minute here.
okay. I can just introduce myself now. I'm Patricia McCluskey. I actually work for the Pottstown Area Regional Recreation Committee as their regional parks planner. And with me is Kathy Peretti. Do you want to introduce yourself while they're getting that ready?
Hi, I'm Kathy Peretti. I know some people on the board here for a very long time. I am the president and founder of the Veterans Island Project over in Memorial Park, and I'm also a board member of the Pottstown Area Regional Recreation Committee.
So, you can go to the next slide. So the borough has received some funding from the William and Dorothy Yeck Family Foundation. I just want to get you a little bit more familiar with who they are. They are actually a locally based group that provides funding for park recreation and arts projects in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And in my previous employment with the Appalachian Mountain Club, I worked with that foundation to secure funding for a couple projects in Bucks and Montgomery County outside of the park region. Can you go back, please?
Sorry.
That's okay. Most recently, the Yeck Foundation provided funding. I was able to work with the Yeck Foundation again to secure funding for 6 municipalities in the park region totaling $157,000, including Pottstown. So you can go to, yeah. So in Pottstown, the Yeck Foundation has provided $25,000 in funds for the planned improvements to Washington West Park. An additional $20,000 has been awarded for public arts projects in the borough. And the arts funds could be used to fund smaller scale individual art projects in the downtown Pottstown and within Pottstown parks. So when we became aware that the borough was going to receive this funding, myself, Michael Lenhart, Sheila Dugan, and Julie Tonneson from Art Fusion just got together once a month to sort of kick things around and try to determine some potential art projects. And through our research, we realized that Phoenixville has had some success painting all of their signal boxes. They have an established application process, and they indicated that if the borough wanted to utilize their procedure, they could do that. They've got everything in writing and set up. Other projects we were talking about include possibly a carousel horse outside of the carousel building. And then another project that the Yuck Foundation indicated they would be in support of is the Veterans Island Wall Mural Project, and Kathy's going to talk about that.
Okay. I'm here to promote that last year at the Veterans Community Day, which is usually the last Saturday in September, we dedicated what was known as the bandstand to the Korean War, a very forgotten war. That's what it's known as. We've provided 4 bronze murals, bronze plaques for the walls, dedicating it. We did it out as a ceremony at the park. When I became aware of the funding for a community public art project, one thing that I've always envisioned since I first started this project was some sort of mural on those walls, because they are just so white. And honestly, they hurt my eyes when I look at them in the sun. It's just too glaring. So I think we can go to the next one so you can see. Now, these are pictures of what I have asked an artist to depict, and one mural will go, the mural of the soldiers would go on one wall, and then diagonally there would be the mural of the boots and the helmet and the dog tags on the other side. And they will all be painted in shades of like greens and grays, so it's not garish, if that's the correct word to use. I've retained an artist who is a Pottstown resident, and he is saying he can definitely get one done by the community day at the end of September. I believe it's September 24th, the last Saturday. Weather permitting, he could maybe get the other one done, but he's not promising that, because he's also agreed to take care of the murals during the process, vandalism, any kind of damage from any winds or rain. He actually did work for a mural company down on the main line previously. So that's what we're proposing. So they won't be those exact pictures. He's right now starting prep, hoping that everything's okay, blocking out the images. So we have the Korean War soldiers on the one side, which is a depiction from the DC Memorial, one of my personal favorites. And then everyone knows the helmet, the boots, and the dog tags. So that's what we're proposing to put on the walls. Any questions I can answer at any time.
I do have a question.
Sure.
When were we down there for the bridge?
I can't
Were you down there cleaning up a few weeks ago when we did the bridge?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were there.
I personally would like to apologize. You did an awesome job. I
Oh,
seen
thank you.
somebody put in the Mercury that the mayor, Trinita, and myself were there, and we didn't recognize you, but I'm so sorry. You did a wonderful job.
Well, we do have to thank, and I'll put a plug in for Pottstown Home Depot. They actually,
they were there too.
they donated $4,500 to redo all the landscaping around
Looks beautiful.
the bandstand.
Very
We've tried to cut down on maintenance
You did a wonderful job.
because that's the big issue.
Thank you.
No problem.
Another question after.
Sure, our pleasure.
The murals, Are they gonna be canvas on or just right on the wall?
They are going to be right on the walls.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
Yeah, no, right on the walls. So he needs to prepare the surface and everything, and part of the grant would go towards supplies which Veterans Island would keep in our possession because they're not his possession, they're ours. So we'll keep for touch-ups, hopefully maybe 2 more murals. You didn't hear that from me.
So I'll just do the last slide then, and then we're done. So, just a few things. If the borough decides to accept the $20,000 from the YEC Foundation, all projects would be approved by the borough's committee before funding for the individual projects would be awarded. A portion of the $20,000 can be retained for maintenance of whatever projects are done. And the committee will monitor each individual project to ensure completion and quality. And we will provide periodic project updates to council so you know what's going on. So that's it. I don't know if you have any more questions for me about the YEC Foundation or this endeavor.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. That was nice.
Yeah, I had one question. So the committee that would be approving it, is that essentially the group that you're working with now, then?
Well, it's up to the borough, it's your money. We just made an informal group to start talking about projects. We would be happy to continue in that vein. It's if Michael, I wanted, obviously somebody from the borough, myself from Park, somebody who's an actual artist, which would be Julie Tunnison from Art Fusion, and then Sheila Dugan just expressed an interest. I think she is an artist too, I'm not sure. Am I right about that? Yeah. And anybody else that you may want on the committee or
Okay.
a new committee.
Okay. Great.
I would like to, I don't think you have a problem with me remaining on the committee, right?
I don't.
Okay.
What time of the day do you usually meet?
It's during business hours we usually meet. I mean, we've only met 4 times at usually like 11 on a Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. If nothing more.
Do you have something to add, Michael?
To clarify, the request to council is whether you'd like to, sorry, that's right, we have, let's focus in TV land. Just to clarify, the request to council is whether you'd like to accept these funds and the project therefore, because that's, the funds are available, but they need a organization that's going to take charge of the project. So is the borough willing to do that, so to administer those funds? And how, therefore, do you want to do it? And as was suggested, I think it's appropriate that you set a designee to the committee, and you decide who you want on that committee or who you want additionally on that committee. If you do accept it, send a designee, and then specify whether you want individual designs approved by council per project, or if you want to leave it to your designee on the committee. Those are the things to consider. I'll also add that with respect to the signal boxes, while those are borough property, PennDOT has say over what goes on with those, so there would be an additional level of approval required for that. Generally speaking, however, my understanding is that PennDOT's not opposed to these decorations. They just want the opportunity to approve the designs. So it could have up to 3-fold approval per individual design. The last piece being, going back to the mural at the Korean War Memorial, this would be the first project that the standing committee, the committee that exists right now, as noted on the slide, would advocate for funding. But again, that's contingent upon the borough approving the funds to be administered through the borough and your approval of the design as the first project, if you wish to have each project approved by the council individually. So that's the nuts and bolts of what's proposed and what the request is essentially. So if anybody needs clarification on that, this is a good time to ask if you have any questions. Did I cover everything, Justin?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Hearing none, we'll list this for action Monday evening. as to what's needed to proceed, go forward. You can work with staff and our legal people.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Next presentation is from the Elks Veterans Committee. Welcome.
Thank you. Let me just sign my name.
Good evening. My name is Gina Custer, and I'm the Veterans Chair for Pottstown Elks 814. We are your neighbor. Tonight, along with my Veterans Committee, Elk members, and supportive people in our surrounding community, we are here to propose a project for Hometown Hero banners as a living tribute for our community to honor past and present members of the armed forces. Some of the criteria for the individual to be recognized will be they must reside or have resided in the Pottstown area. Individuals must have served in the following branches: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, and Coast Guard, and must also meet one of the following conditions: currently be an active service member, be an honorably discharged veteran, or have died in the line of duty. Our committee is willing to receive the applications, do all the necessary paperwork, collect the money, etc. We are here just asking you for approval to join with us to help honor our local veterans who serve their community and country so proudly. We feel the need to have these banners displayed in the downtown area. This is where we have the Memorial Day Parade and the 4th of July Parade. We recognize you currently have installed I Pick Pottstown banners. I have a sample with me this evening to show you. We propose not only the picture, rank, and conflict the veteran served in, but the hero honored also picked Pottstown. I know the Borough Council has to be as proud of these selfless veterans who served as we are. I am looking forward to your approval of this very worthy cause. If you have any questions, concerns, apprehensions, please express them to me. I know we can work together to complete this project. I would now like to introduce an Elk Veteran Committee member, Mr. Dick Herter, who served in Vietnam. Dick is not only an Elk member, but a member of the American Legion Post number 626. Dick and I met with Borough Council Manager Mr. Keller a few months ago to start the ball rolling on this project. Thank you for your kind attention. Dick.
Before we start, I'd like the people that are here to support the banners to please stand up. Thank you. As a Vietnam veteran, I proudly served this country 1966, 1967 as a medic in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. I can express what this banner program would mean to the veterans of Pottstown and the surrounding areas. As Vietnam veterans never received a welcome home, this could be our welcome home. I just ask that you give it a lot of thought to this worthwhile project, and I assure you it will be a very positive effect on Pottstown. As we have heard from the surrounding communities, Pottstown is one of the last communities in this area that hasn't had the Hometown Heroes banners up. And everywhere they've been, it's been very successful, and again, a very positive process. Please take in mind what this is for, and hopefully we'll get your approval to go forward with this project. Thank you. This is a sample of what it will look like. These are on canvas. They're printed. Actually, they're laser printed. They're good for up to 4 years. So you're not going to see faded or banners with holes in them. If they are, we will make sure they're replaced. Okay? Thank you very much for your attention.
I would like to say, too, in conjunction with your I Pick Pottstown, at the bottom of that, we would have Captain Smith Pick Pottstown to go with your project that you already started. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, I have one too, go ahead.
Okay. For, you said the I Pick Pottstown, so it would be like I Pick Pottstown and a vet, and then I Pick Pottstown and a vet, like that?
Well, your banners are right now on one side of the lamppost. And we propose our banners directly
On the other
across
side.
from those on the other side.
I
There
seen
are
that.
small flags that get put out for parades, but I don't think they would be in any way in front of either one of those banners.
Okay. And maintenance, because you were saying you guys will take care of the maintenance of the flags and like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, usually, the research that we
how that
have done
works.
in other areas, like Birdsboro just did theirs 2 years ago. I mean, these are pretty heavy-duty. They'd go up. A lot of people in the surrounding areas put them up and maybe retire them in a year, retire them in 2 years, and then those banners would go back to the families that purchased those. The banner and the hardware is purchased by the individual family that would request a banner. And we think, I mean, already just the small amount of people we've talked to just from our Elks, everybody wants to sign up and know where to get one for their father or uncle or, you know. So I think we would have an overwhelming response to the project. You know, just from our perspective, I think a lot of people are really interested in this happening in town.
And State Rep Cerisi is fully behind this.
I've talked to Mr. Cerisi on the phone a few times. I was also at the cleanup the other week and met him in person. And I've spoken to Mr. Wien on the phone about the project as well. So I've gotten some positive feedback already from Borough Council, and I hope we can move forward with that.
And all the cost is on the family, correct?
All the cost is on the family. Installation, we haven't talked about that yet really, but the Elks is willing to raise the money to have the banners installed, if that's what we have to do.
how many do you think of the veterans will you have up there?
I think our response right away would be 100 people. I really do. I mean, I just can't believe how, I mean, other towns have 200 and 300 banners up.
Case in point on that, Ginny sent me a number of a lady who was interested in the banners, and I spoke to her yesterday, and she wants 8 of them for her family. She's from Pottstown, her brothers, her cousin, they're all veterans, and she wants to have a banner for each one of their.
Well, before I found out yous were doing this, I had inquired with people about it, and in my inquiry, I had over 150 in 2 days of people that wanted to buy a flag.
We'll sell out, we hopefully will get from Manatoni as far up Pike Street as we can go, past the Hill School if we have to, but we want the main drag of Pottstown, we want where the
Parade,
action is,
yeah.
where the parades come through, yes.
And we think we'll get to the point that we'll need to do a lottery possibly.
Yeah, I was gonna say that,
You
because
know,
I think
because
that'd
how
be,
else, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, we want to try to do as many banners as we can, but it all depends on how many polls we have to work with.
yeah, and if somebody's retired, if one of them is retired and you give it to the family, do a new one come up?
Yes, that's what happens in surrounding
Okay, a new-
communities.
a new
A new
person.
banner comes up. And some people pick, you know, some people pick Veterans Week for the banners to go up. Some people do it right before Memorial Day before the parade. I mean, you know, it just all depends on what our borough and town wants to do. But the research we have done, there's usually a time of year that they go up. And then they're up for 1, 2, or 3 years, and then the next group of people come in.
Yeah, okay.
And Royersford, I don't know if people go to Royersford, but their whole main street is filled. And then they have them going off onto the side streets. That's how many they have.
Well, that's our goal. Our goal is to fill High Street, like I said, from Manatoni all the way up past the Hill School if we can. If not, we'll take some of the other streets
only after High Street is full.
Right.
But I think you'll find this will be a great project that Pottstown will approve for us, that it will bring a very positive effect for this town. Thank you.
What Justin said.
Yeah, so you got to most of my questions, but we would have to talk about the time when they would be up, because as you know, we have the snowflakes that go up. And we might be limited in our ability to hang banners when the snowflakes are up, because they occupy the bracket area. So that's between November and like March.
Only thing I can say,
But that would only be on High Street where we have the snowflakes,
the
yeah.
only thing I can say to that, if I would ask every person in this meeting right now, which is more important, our veterans or snowflakes, I'm pretty sure the vote would be snowflakes. No. 100%. Yes.
Okay. We'll list this for Monday evening to see how to go forward with it.
Okay.
Civil Service Commission, testing.
Yes, so we are anticipating 3 or 4 retirements coming up in the police department. So we would like to open the civil service testing for promotions, corporal, sergeants, that kind of thing.
Okay. We'll go forward with that. What's next? 12. Mr. Garner, tell us about 215 South Washington Street.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Council recalls last month we had a rather lengthy discussion about 215 South Washington. And after that discussion, council voted to forgive taxes and utility charges for the property with conditions. Very briefly, those conditions were the submission of a business plan acceptable to council. A plan was submitted last month. A release for a claim regarding 1200 East High Street. And the last condition was a new condition that was discussed, perhaps a substitute for the business plan. And that was a restrictive covenant to be recorded against the property to guarantee that the property would not be used for some of the uses that perhaps council didn't find to be appropriate. At the last meeting, you received paperwork from the owner listing uses that the owner agrees would not be provided for, at least within a period of time. I think you should have that information. Very briefly, those uses were a health and fitness center, outdoor storage, a park, a warehouse, a utility company, municipal or civic accessory use, a parking lot, solid waste storage unit, and continuing home care. At the time, the applicant and the owner asked that the restriction be for 2 years. There were 3 other uses at the time that the applicant would agree to prohibit for a period of 5 years. Those were criminal housing facilities, rooming house, and treatment center. Over the past month, we've been working with the owner's attorney. The owner's attorney has submitted a restrictive covenant and has addressed all the current concerns that I would have from a legal basis, has also agreed to increase the time period for those prohibitions. The first set that I've read would be for 5 years, and the last 3 would be for 10 years. If council is comfortable with those time periods and those uses that would be restricted, we'd be in position for you to vote to authorize the execution of the covenant. We'll put the draft in your packet for Monday night. And I think the only other issue council should at least weigh in on is just a vote to acknowledge and approve that the business plan that was submitted is satisfactory. If council is inclined to agree with both of those items, then I think the conditions that you imposed have been satisfied once the release has been drafted. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we had a long discussion about this last month, but this is kind of the follow-up after the attorneys and Justin and everyone have a chance to go over documents, I guess, for the last 30 days. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have, whether it involves the business plan or the restrictive covenant.
And I'll just add that we do have Mr. Jones here with us tonight, so if anyone has any direct questions for the property owner, he's available.
And I would just point out to council that I did recommend that those periods of time be extended from 2 to 5 to 5 to 10, and the owner agreed. Certainly that's your decision, however, not mine. But I thought that those time periods for the restrictions were reasonable. And the owner has been very, very cooperative in working with the borough staff to get the restriction finalized. And again, we can share it with you in the packet for Monday night. But questions now, I'm happy to answer.
Any,
No, all my questions have been answered.
anything over here?
I don't have a question, but welcome to Ward 6.
Okay,
Stop it.
then we'll list this for action for Monday evening.
You a mess.
Thank you, Mr. Gorner.
You're welcome.
Heslop.
Yes.
Go.
So these next two items here on the agenda concern disposition of borough properties that have been vacant for over 15 years. And the purpose that they're on the agenda is we'd like to redevelop them with a tax-producing use. So if you recall, a while back, council authorized the solicitor to work with Pottstown Area Economic Development to prepare a cooperation agreement to have paid manage the marketing of the Heslop property through an RFP process, as well as serving as the conduit for transfer to a private owner for redevelopment. Attached for your review is to the agenda is the proposed cooperation agreement and RFP. The cooperation agreement lays out a process for disposition, which paid takes the lead to develop and advertise an RFP to prospective developers in consultation with Borough Council and Borough staff. The next step would be that paid would then review the RFP submissions and make a recommendation to council for the highest and best use. In exchange, paid would receive a commission based on the sale price at the time of closing. If you take a look at the RFP, it outlines various requirements for prospective developers, including a couple main categories, and those are the developer's implementation experience, their ability to get financing, their ability for a context-sensitive design, so a design that fits in kind of with the character of the area, and given that this is a gateway, it should be a high-quality architectural design. And the highest points goes to the desired end uses, the number of jobs, and the tax revenue that would be generated from the property. There are bonus points in the RFP for incorporation of public amenities such as public space or green building techniques. The Heslop site, if you're not familiar with it, it's a vacant property on the corner of College Drive and Hanover Street. It's ideally suited for commercial development, from what we can gather. And since it has been some time since you last approved us working on the cooperative agreement and the RFP, we decided during the pandemic we had it ready to go, and we wanted to wait kind of until things settled out after the pandemic to put it out to you guys for possibly advertising it. There are some minor changes that need to be made to the date. The name of paid changed from PAID to PAED, et cetera. So we would make those changes, and then hopefully for the Heslop, have those documents, and we would seek council approval in July to start the RFP process and publicly advertise that. Similarly, the borough owns 2 lots adjacent to each other at 327 Industrial Highway and 175 South Evans Street. I think it's the former underwear factory. We are asking council to approve our solicitor working on the cooperation agreement for that project as well. It's envisioned that we would have the same process that we would do for the Heslop. So there would be a cooperation agreement with paid, and then there would be an RFP that would be issued similar to the items in the Heslop. Lots comprise about 1.5 acres in altogether, and they're ideally suited for commercial, residential, or mixed-use development. So for these properties, we're asking council for feedback on the cooperation agreement and the RFP process based on the one that was done for the Hess lot.
Very good.
And then we'll come back in July and ask for approval of the documents. But mainly it's review that items for the Hess lot. And then if you're okay with moving forward with having Chuck draft an agreement for the properties on Industrial and South Evans, we would ask for approval for that on Monday night as well.
All right, let's list those for action Monday.
Okay.
And 15, Mr. Garner, release and hold harmless agreement. Chuck?
Sorry, Dan, which,
Release and hold harmless.
oh, okay, this is for the property on 7th Street. I don't know that it's happened recently, but in the past, there's been significant times when Borough Council, which controls its right-of-way, has accepted requests from residents who don't have a lot of front yard and they want to improve their property. In this case, the property owner at 29 West 7th Street has requested to install a retaining wall on their property. Unfortunately, it's actually within a portion of the borough right-of-way of 7th Street. So in the past, what council has done is granted permission for the use of the right-of-way for fences and walls and those kind of things, as long as the property owner executes a release and an indemnification agreement releasing the borough from responsibility. The agreement basically says that the property owner knows and understands that the wall is constructed within the right-of-way, that in the event the borough ever has to use the right-of-way for any purpose, the cost and expense of removing the wall or the fence would be at the sole cost and expense of the property owner. In this case, the property owner has signed an appropriate agreement to the borough, and we're asking that council recommend council approve the use of its right-of-way for this retaining wall for this residential property. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Hearing none, we'll listen for approval Monday evening. Okay, once again, Mr. Garner, the property disposition, 1,000 Cherry Street.
Yes, if council recalls, I think the land bank had talked about this property a number of months ago, but I don't believe council ever really talked about the property or whether or not council was interested in disposing of the property and donating it to the land bank or to any other potential third party. The property we're talking about is a triangular piece of property. It's formed at the intersections, I believe, of Cherry, Center Avenue, and Price Street. It's a small piece of property, less than 1/7 of an acre. As long as I can remember, it's always just been grass. The borough has maintained it. I mean, I go back 50-some years growing up in the East End, so it's always been in its present condition. It's in the 6th Ward, and I think it was suggested that potentially the borough might consider donating it to the land bank for disposition. But I don't think council ever really had it on its agenda to decide whether or not it wanted to dispose of the property or retain the property. And I think that's the first step and the first decision council needs to make. I think the manager had put together some thoughts about pros and cons for retaining the property or disposing of the property. And before we go too far and put the cart before the horse, we wanted to see what council's thoughts were about this property and whether or not it's ripe for donation to the land bank. The residents, I mean, it's open space right now. I don't know if it's used by residents on the 6th Ward or not, but it certainly always has been open, always has been grass for decades. But that doesn't mean you might not have other thoughts as far as what it could be used for or whether or not you want to continue to own it and maintain it. So that's kind of the background. And I think Justin and I would welcome your thoughts or comments on the property.
Mr. Paulus,
Well, I had.
your ward.
I had talked to Justin earlier today about it, and my concern is if they turn it into a dog park, where are the
we're
people
not
going to
there.
park?
It doesn't matter what the use. Right now, we're discussing, does the borough keep it or put it up for sale? Oh, all right, I've spoken with some of your neighbors down there, and they would prefer the borough keep it as is. Any development on there would cause more traffic, more parking, more.
And yeah, I would say we keep it. 'Cause and besides that, that's a heavily traveled area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of vehicles that go by there.
Yeah, and Dana's expanding. More traffic.
I mean, I hate, but yeah, I think for now, we should just keep it.
Anyone else? Okay, if nothing else, we'll list it for a decision Monday evening.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, while I have you, Mr. Garner, number 17, ordain and vacate portion of Banatoni Street.
Okay, thank you. This sounds really complicated, but it's not. The Montgomery County Community College has the North Hall, which is on High Street at the intersection with Manatoni Street. They submitted a land development plan to the borough. It's undergoing planning commission review. We found out by searching borough records that Manatoni Street technically is still a street that extends from High Street to the railroad tracks. So it's still technically a borough street. The college, as part of the land development plan, has filed a formal petition seeking the borough to vacate that. So it's no longer a borough street. They've committed to make sure that property owners have access to the rear of their property, those that are on High Street. And obviously, the college would pay for the cost of the process to vacate, public hearing, ordinance, and the other requirements. We just like to get council's approval to move forward with creating the ordinance and advertising a public hearing. So this street can be vacated. If you're familiar with the property right now, it's just a parking lot. So it's not really a street, but technically on the books, it still remains a street. So it's a small section that would be vacated and then revert to the college. Public Works has no concern, nor does the police or fire department, based upon our survey of those departments. So it's up to you if you'd like to move forward with the college's request. Again, I answer any questions you have on the process.
And I'll just add that access way does provide rear access to, I think, one or two other properties, and the college has indicated that they would not do anything to prevent them from continuing to access their property.
Right.
I have a question about that. Would that be in writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, it would all be in writing. This won't, if you authorize the process to move forward, this probably won't come back to you until the plan's been fully vetted, reviewed, and approved. And you probably have the public hearing and the ordinance approval the same night as the plan is in front of you for final approval. So it would all kind of come together, dovetail nicely when we get to that endpoint. It probably won't be July at this point. It might be August, since we're already in June.
Thank you.
Okay, if nothing more, we'll list that for Monday. 18 is Mervine Street paving. We get to pave half of it.
Yes, so this is per our cooperative agreement to repave Mervine Street, the agreement that we have with Upper Pottsgrove Township, since the street is actually split right down the middle between the two municipalities. So if Kathy Peretti was here, I'd say in the spirit of cooperation between the two townships, or municipalities, I should say, Upper Pottsgrove did put it out to bid. Those are now finalized, and the bids were approved by Upper Pottsgrove Township. The second step is to have the borough approve those bids as well. So the low bidder was the H&K Group. which also, if you remember, they won the borough bid for our street paving. So that should provide a good level of coordination between the two projects. We're asking council to approve the borough share of the bid, which amounts to $135,500, or about 1/3 of the total project cost. If approved, most items are eligible to be paid from the borough's liquid fuel fund, which is typically where we pay for our roadway paving.
Right.
Any questions?
So is that all of Mervine on Cross Charlotte, you know?
No.
Charlotte
yeah,
to Hanover.
Charlotte to Hanover. Because I think the other
That's my-
side,
That's my ward.
The other
Yeah.
side would be Lower
I
Pottsville.
think the other side is part Lower Pottsgrove and part Pottstown.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah,
Okay,
so this
I
would
know
just be
what
for
my
the-
side is, Charlotte to Hanover.
Yep.
Yeah, because I
That's
had to
you.
go to Rentners, but, okay. I just wanted
And
to,
Trinita,
Yes.
that's your, that's the part will get repaid.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's your turn this year. Okay.
Good.
We'll list that for approval for Monday evening. 19 bid award, 707 Hamilton Street.
All right, we have not received any bids on this for the second time.
Okay.
But we do have a new piece of legislation that was approved that allows us to go out to bid twice. If we do not receive any qualified bidders, we're allowed to directly negotiate with a contractor.
Very good.
So we've run that by our solicitor. He's okay with that approach. This project is subject to a grant, so we have to run it by the grant agency to make sure they're okay with that approach.
Okay.
If all is a go, then we would engage in a negotiation with the contractor based on the grant amount.
All right, so you need our approval Monday evening?
At this
We
point,
don't, yeah, I don't think we need anything Monday night.
Okay,
We would need your approval next month to confirm a contract if we're able to negotiate one.
good.
But there's no formal action for Monday since we had no bids, nothing
Okay.
to reject.
No action. Thank you. 20 is a motion to grant the request of Victory Christian Life Center to hold its Friends and Family Day on June 12, 2022, and closing Washington Street between King Street and Buttonwood Alley from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., subject to review and approval of the police and fire departments.
so if you'll notice, this one's a little different. The event is happening this weekend, so we're actually asking someone to make this motion and vote on it tonight.
Chuck, do we need any public opinion on this?
Yes, once the motion is made and seconded, you should open up the floor for public comment, limited solely to this motion, and then you can vote on it. And again, it's a timing issue, and it's been properly listed on the agenda, so you can act.
All right, so do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
And a second? Moved and seconded. Now, I'm going to ask the public if they have any comment on this proposal. Okay, hearing none. Any discussion from council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Okay, 21, Pottstown Ambuck Soapbox Derby, Wilson Street. They should hold out for Mervine. We'd get much higher speeds.
Yeah, it is a nice, that is, it's a little,
Ooh, yeah.
my Charger love
You'd
it.
have to close Charlotte Street off.
Lots of,
They'll go right through the hay.
Right,
lots of straw bales.
right across the street into your ward.
Okay, they do this every year. Any opposition to it? Not, we'll approve that Monday evening. 22, Parks and Rec Comedy Show. Bring your own beer or bottles to Memorial Park, June 17 and June 24.
They did that last year, correct?
Yep, past 2 years, it's a very successful event. We also allow each person to bring their own food as well, and they're limited to a small sized cooler. And yeah, I mean, it was a great event and pretty well attended.
Good.
A lot of good time.
All right, we'll approve that Monday evening. 23 is a block party, Shonda Wiley, 600 block King Street, July 9, rain date July 16.
And the time on that is 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
11 to 7.
Is that the block between Adams and Washington? Or Warren? Adams and Warren?
600. 400 is Washington. 500.
No, well, it depends on what side of Washington.
Well, it's going to be east.
So that would be the 500.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be between Warren and
Adams.
Adams, yeah.
Okay. Any issues? If not, we'll list that for action Monday evening. 24 is a community arts project on July 14th, 400 block of Chestnut Street. They want to chalk a blue whale on the street.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So they're requesting to draw a life-sized blue whale in the street in front of Mosaic Community Garden on Chestnut Street, using chalk. In connection with the library's summer reading program, the closure would be from 10 to 12, and I don't know if we have anyone here representing them that they could speak about that. No,
Okay.
okay.
Anyone have an issue with this? Or not, we'll list it for Monday evening. 25 is the Victory Christian Life, the National Night Out. They want to close Washington Street on August 2nd. Now that's from where to where in Washington?
Between Chestnut and Rowan Alley, and it'll be between 4 p.m. and 8:30 p.m.
Same as
Done that
last year.
before, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. National
Okay.
Night Out. Yep.
Next one.
Yep, we'll list that for Monday. Spruce Street Block Party,
No.
Lee Avenue to Maplewood Drive. Counselor Lindsay. Are we all invited?
No. You don't live in my ward, you better not come to my block party.
I got family.
So,
on
no,
the
I'm
board.
just kidding. Don't you? So, yes, it's open to everyone to come. Actually, the date is August 6th, rain date is 7.
August 6th.
That's on a Saturday. And yes, all is welcome. I wanted to do a block party in 2018, and then I didn't. Life got in the way. And then 19, life got in the way again. And then 2020, well, we know what happened then. And then 2021. And then I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it this year. So I decided to do it this year.
Very good.
Okay? But yeah, you all welcome. But you got to bring something, because you ain't going to be coming to my block party and not bring nothing.
In that case, we'll approve it Monday night.
Bring napkin.
27, Labor Day Car Show, Smith Family Plaza.
Yeah, I talked to the applicant. We're still trying to figure out whether or not this will work for the event. The event is still approved for High Street. This would be an additional area that they might like to use. So we're gonna table this.
This is the foreign car.
The European Car Show. So we're gonna just kind of table that until next month and see if,
Okay.
They're thinking about putting vehicles
on Smith Plaza.
Smith Plaza?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am here, and I'm going to withdraw the application to put the vehicles on there, just due to the weight concerns on the paver. So we are continuing that conversation, but I do plan to withdraw it and not put cars on there.
Okay.
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 All right. Thanks, Jamie. We will be in touch for anything else you need.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, 28, Mr. Garner, we're going to talk about zoning, 415 Laurel Street.
Yes, thank you, Dan. We now have a confirmed hearing date for both these zoning applications. I believe it's June 22nd. But for 415 Laurel Street, this is a property that has a residential unit, has another storage unit, and in September of 2000, it was granted a variance to have a separate part of the property to be used as a woodworking cabinet shop, woodworking use. So it received variance. The zoning officer looked at a new application that was submitted. The individual wants to take the portion of the property that was used for woodworking and would like to use it for a metal shop or a metal working business. The zoning officer felt that even though it was still a same type of use, a metal working shop might be a little bit more intense than the woodworking shop. So the applicant has filed an appeal to the zoning hearing board looking for a variance to simply replace the woodworking shop with this proposed metal shop. So that's the issue that is looking for zoning relief. Everything else about the property would stay the same. They're using the same portion of the property for the metalworking shop as the woodworking shop. So if anybody has questions or concerns, you can take a position on it, but I'm not sure who the ward counselor is. This might be Lisa's?
No, it's mine.
Sixth ward, okay.
I
So anyway.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
They're going from wood to metal.
Right.
Metal, you're gonna need, chemicals, oils, stuff like that to machine it.
Yes.
He'd have to get like hazmat,
OSHA?
oh, not hazmat, anyway, some of that stuff can be, I'm sorry?
DP?
Yeah, deep, yeah. But some of that stuff can be dangerous to say. I work with it every day.
Well, he would need OSHA approved storage facility.
Yes, he would need containment, he would need all kinds of stuff, because woodworking, you really don't need nothing.
You're correct, Counselor Paulus. They would need to comply with all of our L&I requirements as well as any state and federal requirements if the zoning relief were granted. Again, I don't want to speak for the zoning hearing board, but I'm sure the zoning hearing board would have the same type of concerns you have, and that's why they have hearings.
Right.
So, those things would be addressed if the zoning relief were granted. They're not looking to, escape any regulations, but the first step is zoning. If they can't even potentially operate as the metalworking business, they won't need anything else. So, your concerns are certainly valid, but they would be addressed, through the regulatory process.
So Monday night, our choices are to support it, argue against it, or do nothing.
That's correct, Dan.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard a whole lot about this as far as concern either way.
Okay. Well, we'll list it for Monday, and then council will have to decide. And the next one is 316 North Charlotte.
Yeah, that's a little bit more straightforward.
Right.
This is a family home. It obviously has use as a single family home. I believe that portion of North Charlotte Street doesn't really have any off-street parking. The request is to divide the house into two apartments, and they don't have parking to meet one unit, let alone two units. So they're asking for relief from parking. They would be required 4 off-street parking spaces in order to convert the building into 2 units. I don't see what the hardship would be. Again, trying to maximize an investment or use of the property is not a legitimate basis for granting a variance. On the face of it, I don't see how the zoning hearing board would grant this, but it's certainly up to you if you want to take a position on it, pro or con.
Okay.
What ward is this in?
Pardon?
That's what I thought was Dan's. Oh,
I think it's Dan's.
I drove past it and it's tight. Like there's no parking.
You're right.
There's no parking in it, and
You're right.
and we have issues with parking already
Right.
here
major
in
issues
town.
with parking.
And there's no parking. It's not my ward, but I don't.
All right. In that case, I will have it listed for Monday evening, the motion to be denied.
The motion to oppose, and we can
To
send a
oppose.
letter
Right.
if that's what you decide to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for Monday. 316. All right, number 30, we have a board vacancy, and Twyla Fisher has applied for another 3-year term, correct?
Yes, that's correct. She'd like to be reappointed.
Yeah, I don't know about this Twyla Fisher lady.
Stop, we'll deny your block party.
All right, put that on for Monday. And 31 is Harb, 758 East High Street. They're asking for approval.
Yeah, so it looks like if financial services business would like to change the signage for the building, and the Harb Committee did make a motion to accept the application as submitted.
Okay.
And did pass unanimously.
Did, very good. So we'll act on that Monday evening. 32 is administrative approved Harb issues. And we'll list those. And now it is time for comments from citizens present. You have any online?
I do not have any online requests at this point.
You don't have any online because the chat is disabled.
All right, well, if there is anyone that would like to speak, I can take their name right now.
Take the name to speak.
Yeah. Would you like to speak, Ms. Spence?
No.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll have to look into that for the next meeting. Now, some of these were the veterans, and I don't know if you want to speak again, but if not, just let me know.
No, we didn't know, we were told we had to sign the paper.
That's all right.
So- And
Okay,
the
so I've-
other gentleman that I was gonna have speak, he thought we covered everything.
Captain Bo,
Captain Boyce.
Boyce, okay, and Gina Custer and Dick
Yeah.
Hurt. So,
All right,
okay, then it would appear there's no further comments from the public.
okay. Now, counselors. Counselor Proskal, you still with us? Yes, not. Counselor Banny?
No, not tonight.
Nothing. Vice President Lebanonski? Nothing.
Well, Chad is checked.
Counselor Lindsay?
Of
Anything?
course, you know I have something. So I wanted to add on two names on the mayor's list, which, Madam Mayor, you did a wonderful job at your, on your comments. That was, you covered everything. And again, guys, please don't blame our hearts, blame our mind. And it was a lot going on, so if we forgot anybody, we do not mean any harm. But I wanted to say thank you to Bishop Anthony, because he was there, and Sticky Buns had brought some buns too there also. And I wanted to say congratulations to the Pottstown graduation of 2020.
2022.
2022, thank you. I'm behind time a little bit. 2022, you guys look fabulous walking across that stage. So I wanted to just say congratulations, and you got this. I'm gonna bring up Michael, because I want him to talk about Bright Hope's Playground and what's going on with that. But I also want to thank Parks and Rec for Spruce Street basketball court. It is amazing, and everybody loved it on Facebook. And I drove past, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I didn't even know that there was a basketball court on there. I took my kids to the playground area, but I was like, oh, there is a basketball court. So to the gentleman who addressed that to me at the polls in November of last year, it's done. So I just wanted to let you know, I did that. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. But Michael, can you come up for a second? I just want him to address that, and then I'll finish.
Okay, yes. Councilor Lindsley had asked about the Bright Hope Community Playground, which is a question we've gotten in the past. There was a playground there. It's not something that's owned or operated by the Borough Parks and Recreation Department, and there had long been some concerns about providing something there for the residents of Bright Hope. Recently, the borough was contacted by the county. We were informed that they're starting a playground project there, and we were asked to participate as a voice at the table. They contacted Justin. Justin asked me to sit in on those meetings as the Parks and Rec Director and a CPSI. So my understanding is that that is proceeding, and it's starting with a public input meeting on the 21st of this month, and that would be for Bright Hope residents to talk to the county about what they'd like to see there. But I think the important thing you wanted to highlight was that there are plans for improvements there, and that we have some participation as a voice in the room, though it's primarily through the county, but to make sure that it's understood that that location and the needs there are not forgotten.
Thank you, Michael.
And they did reach out to me as well, and I'll be attending that meeting.
Thank you, Lisa. So, you guys, I just wanted to make sure that was addressed. And the Ricketts Center have a beautiful fence outside, so if you're going through up Beach Street, down Beach Street, check it out. It looks nice. And, oh, and I don't know if you can see this, but the police department is hiring. So those who say we don't have enough diversity, yeah, that you can get a nice check for 71 salary, 71K. So those who want to join the police department, here it is. Mick, can you come up? I want you to say a little thing about this right here too. About this police department, because we need you. You know how that back in the day, we want you, that's it. We want you to come. We want you. Thank you.
Sorry,
Something
Meg.
specific you wanted me to address?
No, I just want you to address the community, saying that we need police officers.
We do. We'll be testing in August, the specific date, I don't remember off the top of my head. But we need police officers. We're short. And there's a lot of police departments that are short right now. Not a lot of people want to be cops right now. So please spread the word. Check out our website, Facebook. I have some pamphlets I can hand out, but please encourage people to test. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick. And last but not least, Justin, we getting the Panera Bread?
Yes. That'll be right across from the Chipotle. That's coming in at the former Friendly site, so right across Robinson Street. They're gonna build a new pad site there adjacent to the Sakura Asian Fusion restaurant. So it'll be right next to that.
There we go.
Okay, I'm done.
Lots of lunch options.
Yes.
Councilor Pauls.
I have a couple questions, but first, with that property at Cherry, Center, and Price, I think I'm gonna change my mind on that. I think that if we can get money for it, get the money for it, but we should really restrict what we allow there.
Anything else?
Yes. I have a question. The billboards that we were last year, what happened with that? Because that would have brought money into the borough.
So, yeah, and the question is, we don't know what kind of revenue. There is an expense for, building the billboards, which isn't insignificant. From what I recall, the next step was to conduct a marketing study, and that cost about $30,000 to $40,000. So we reviewed that at the time, and also with the pandemic, it wasn't as easy to get the traffic counts and everything like that. So we kind of decided to table it.
Okay, and who made that decision?
I believe that was brought to
We had it at finance.
Finance Committee. Yeah.
Yeah.
And secondly, anything that involves the town, the community, whatever, anything, whether it's decorations or who makes those decisions?
Yeah.
Shouldn't council be deciding on anything that involves the town? Let's just hypothetically, the banners.
Right.
Shouldn't that have been brought to council to be able to put them up?
I think it was.
Not the veterans banners. I'm talking about.
Oh, the original one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so typically no. I mean, that's something that historically has been delegated to staff. And quite frankly, council, never really had to make a decision on it because we didn't have competing entities that were, that wanted to put the banners in the same place. So now that we do, council needs to tell staff which one, what they prefer.
Right. I'm just
So-
asking. Yep. Just asking. I haven't been here for a while, so I'm out of the loop. I need to,
Oh, no problem. Sure. Sure.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Right. Counselor Kirkland?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the tragedy that happened in my ward. I really didn't write anything down. I really wanted to talk from my heart. So forgive me if it's like scattered all over the place. My mind is just all over. But I did write a couple bullet points though. But this really hurt my heart when this happened. Because in my mind, I think about the children. Okay, I mean, those were kids. Those were little kids, who died. And that really bothered me. The family's going through a hard time right now of grief and sorrow, and I'm sure they want their privacy. But I know that Pottstown is a community. I remember when I first moved here. I moved here in 2001. And I moved from Philadelphia. And I remember when I first came here, I purposely parked downtown and walked downtown. And I talked to people in the street. And I was just talking to people, saying hello, walking by people. And they were saying hello back. And they were waving, hey, And that really touched me because it reminded me of home. So when I moved here, I just got a sense of this community being a one-minded community. This is before I even became a council member. It's such a one-minded community. It reminded me of home. And I was asked about Pottstown a couple months ago, and I told them this, about how it's a one-minded community. And I told them how Pottstown, when one is happy, the whole community is happy. And when one person's sad, the whole community is sad. And I said, I've never experienced such a one-minded community as in Pottstown. And when this happened, man, everybody came through. Everybody came through. I mean, so many people, the mayor, I mean, they're just there every single day, and just, it just did my heart proud to see how this community came together. We all want to do, more and more, but, sometimes you gotta get out of the way and let the professionals do the work, sometimes. But the way the first responders too, like the mayor said, the first responders, man, they just go into danger and just do what they got to do. That's just phenomenal, and the community members just helping out. But I went to the candlelight vigil, and for a minute there, my mind was kind of going off, and I was looking at the candle they lit on the table. And my mind was kind of fascinated on the candle, on the flame. And I was thinking about how pretty the flame was and how bright it was. And I was saying, man, life is the same way. Life is beautiful, but the Bible says life is like a wind's breath. A breath of wind could have came through and just, even how beautiful it is. A breath of wind could have came through and wiped it out. So the reason why I'm saying that, I'm just saying, let's just appreciate life. Let's appreciate life, appreciate our neighbors, appreciate our family. Don't take anything for granted. Just live life to the fullest. And again, just understand what the family's going through right now. The family's going through a lot of sorrow and grief right now. And let's just keep them in our prayers and keep them in our hearts. And, even the people who, the neighbors who their homes were affected, who had to move out. There's other people who are affected too. And I was up there talking to some of those people who, as they were moving out, I was talking to some of them people. And it's just really sad how your life could be one way one day and then totally different the next day.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to encourage Pottstown.
Yeah.
Just encourage the town to continue doing continue to do what draw me here.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing, Dan?
I'm not finished.
I'm sorry, sorry.
Sorry. We thought you was been sorry.
I was just saying, I just wanted to encourage Pottstown to continue to do what I saw when I first came here. How I saw the community come into, just a oneness in the community. Just continue to do that because that's what draws people here, and that's what counts in a time of need.
Yeah.
When things happen, that's what counts. Because not all communities are like that. Not all communities are like that. I just want to encourage the town. That's all. Thanks, that's it.
We have a message from Counselor Proskal.
Yes, Counselor Proskal, I guess his line dropped out, but he just wanted to thank the first responders that were there at the scene as well. And also, he wanted to let everyone know that on June 21st, there's a community meeting, 6 p.m. At the Borough Hall, for anyone that would like to attend.
Okay.
Is that the first ward?
Yes.
So
Ward 1.
Yeah, so that's the Ward 1
Yep.
meeting with the police department and Counselor Proxel.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
Michael wanted to say
Mayor.
something.
I mean, like Chuck, I've been here over 50 years, and I'm to expand on what Joe was talking about. I've seen the flood of 1972, which was devastating to the south end of Pottstown. But what happened last Thursday was far more horrific. I've actually seen 3 devastating things here in my life. That was the most horrific I've ever seen. But as far as a community coming together, I seen it back in 1972, and I still see it today.
Yes.
So Pottstown, like Mr. Armato always says, Pottstown is Pottstown proud.
Yep.
Right. Mayor.
I just wanted to recognize the Parks and Rec Department. Throughout the past couple of weeks, they have installed a beautiful new permanent playground right around the corner from Hale and Butler. And I would encourage council to maybe vote on naming said park playground or putting a memorial there for the Smith.
Absolutely.
Okay, noted.
I like that.
Anything else? All right, I have nothing more to add, so.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.